I'm going to try to get the name right. Is it Ferguso?
It's Ragusa, like Carmine from Laverne and Shirley.
Oh, there we go. In relation?
I wish.
All right, well, now, let me find out right off the get-go. Were you at the ACMs last night?
I was backstage the whole night, on the red carpet, backstage.
And what a show. I mean, it's so awesome when country comes together to put on these award shows. We show up.
Absolutely. We show up in full force, cowboy hats, rhinestones, and sequins.
Was it a little different for Vegas to have this many, quote, cowboys and cowgirls around for the music awards last night?
You know, it was pretty funny. I noticed in my hotel every time I went down to the lobby, there were quite a few pairs of boots and a lot of cowboy hats strolling around Vegas. So they certainly turn out, and it gives it a little bit different element.
Backstage, what was the feel through the show? Were the performers happy with what was going on? Were they enjoying themselves?
Everybody was enjoying themselves. Usually back in the press room where I'm at, everybody kind of has their head down because we're working as we go, so we don't get to see the entire show like, the viewing audience at home does, but we get to catch, bits and pieces of the performances. Everybody's heads were up. We were watching the whole thing. The energy level was off the hook. You could feel it as soon as you walked out of that press room when you would encounter artists on the red carpet and in the backstage area. Energy through the roof.
Your favorite part of the whole show?
Oh, man, it is hard to say. I really loved Carrie's performance. It was a great way to open the show, really high energy. Chris Young singing Save Water, Drink Beer. Love that song, love him. Thought, too, that added to that whole party element. Toby Keith, Kenny and Tim, great preview of what the tour is going to be like for Brothers of the Sun. Obviously, being a girl, the Martina McBride, Pat Monahan moment was so special with the wedding. And closing it with Blake Shelton and Lionel Richie, they couldn't have done any better.
After the whole show is done, and of course, CBS goes back to their other programming. What was it like afterwards? Did people hang out and shake hands and hugs and stuff like that, or are they out of there?
You know what? They hang around for a little bit. In Nashville, I think they hang out a little bit more, but I think everybody was anxious to get to either a gambling table or a party last night. There were a lot of parties going on all night long.
Well, let's ask about what knowledge do you have on those parties? Who had the best party that you heard of?
I think Big Machine Records, which would be Justin Moore. Oh, gosh, I'm going to draw a blank now. Justin Moore, Thomas Rhett, Rascal Flatts, Martina, that whole label group. I think they were throwing down pretty good last night. They were pretty excited to get on with everything. Blake and Miranda, of course, they have a lot of their friends come out and party with them after all the award shows. Lady Antebellum, they were going to have a big night. They were going to do a little bit of celebrating, a little bit of gambling. So I think anybody who won and everybody who didn't was going to celebrate.
Listening to the show, it seemed like a couple of times the singers were having a challenge with monitors, and I remember Dirks yanked his out of his ears. What feel did you get backstage? Any comments from any performers coming off the stage about a challenge with the monitors?
There were a lot of sound issues from what I understand. I only heard some of the performances. I know some of the ones that I heard, the mics were dropping out pretty significantly. That's always a challenge when you're trying to mix sound for an arena that big, and that arena is huge. And the sound engineers, they usually mix it for either the venue, for in-house, or they mix it for TV. I'm not sure how they decide which one they're going to do, but yeah, I've heard more than one comment on the sound not being quite what everybody had hoped.
Well, and that's where these professional performers, they just keep plowing through, even though, they're battling all that, doing lyrics, remembering what they're going to do for the moves, at the same time trying to make it sound good and going, this doesn't sound right, but I got to keep going.
Absolutely. Country music stars do not stop. They just keep powering through. Who
had the hottest fashions in your mind?
Oh, gosh, Carrie Underwood always looks like $1,000,000, but Taylor Swift, wow.
She looked great.
She's grown up in front of our eyes, and she's just such a lovely young woman.
Yeah. Her hair. Now, she had like a tint of red in the hair or something last night.
It did look a little bit darker. Maybe she had some low lights. If you're a girl, you know what those are. Men, you may not. But it looks like she might have had some low lights. And, of course, she has the bangs now, sporting the straighter do. Very mature, very much a young woman now instead of that little girl that we remember at the beginning. Yeah,
definitely so. Well, Tammy, it's amazing how wide awake you are this morning, because I can't imagine you got too much sleep last night after that show and up doing these radio interviews.
I haven't had any sleep yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks again for the report from Las Vegas and the ACM, Tammy.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.